First of all, thank you everyone for joining our webinar. My name is Gina Buckles, and I'm one of the advisors at 401k Plan Professionals. And on behalf of our team, Jenna, Kristen, Jessica, Virginia, and myself, I just want to thank you for taking a little time out of your morning. This is a short webinar, as are many of our webinars in our webinar series. We try to keep them to 30 minutes or less, give you some valuable information so you can get on with your day. If you are familiar with our webinar series, we do host a webinar almost every month. And it's a variety of topics. Many of them are designed for HR directors, plan sponsors, business owners like yourself. But we do have some great webinars that are also participant focused, and those obviously can be shared with your staff. All of our webinars are recorded, and I do encourage you to check out our website at 401kplanprofessionals.com. We also have a YouTube channel, and you'll find all of these past webinars, all of our upcoming webinars and client events. They're all out on our website, along with a variety of other informational videos. So definitely check that out if you have an opportunity. And I do want to mention throughout the webinar today, if you do have questions, please feel free to put those questions in the chat or the Q&A. We can pause throughout the webinar. This is a small group, so we'll keep it really informal, but we'll definitely make sure we answer any questions at the close of the presentation as well. So that's enough about me and about 401k Plan Professionals. I am really excited to introduce our guest speaker today. Dan Florina is joining us. Dan is from Putnam Investments. And Dan and Putnam Investments, they're a great partner to us as financial advisor. A lot of the economic data, market data, just surveys and insight like we're going to share with you today, we get from partners like Dan. And so we really appreciate his help and support. Dan has been with Putnam or been in the industry for over 15 years. He is from the Chicago area, although he's joining us from sunny Palm Beach, California, or Florida, California. Yeah, he's in some place much warmer than Minnesota. But again, we appreciate his support and really excited. I'm really excited about this presentation as well. It really helps, I think, plan sponsors, HR directors understand the financial mindset of those younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, which is important. We want to help them become better savers and become more financially secure. So I think this is a great presentation. And Dan, I will let you go ahead and take it from there.
All right, thank you, Gina, and thank you everyone for joining this morning. As Gina mentioned, I am in sunny California, which is kind of nice. I do reside in the Chicago area, and I'm in Minnesota quite a bit, so I do understand the weather that you are all getting, and it's nice that I have a couple days here for an offsite meeting. So today, our goal is to share insights about your Millennial and Gen Z plan participants. And interestingly enough, as I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking about our own company and our own team and just the difference in the generations that we have. And then I even looked further, and between myself and my business partner, Angela, who is on this call as well, we sit on opposite sides of the millennial generation. To put this in perspective, and I might draw a parallel here later down the road too, if you think about technology and the way that technology has shaped the way that we interact with folks, that's a big part of what you're going to see with how to engage with the different generations in this presentation here. But in 1983, the first Motorola Dynatac handheld cell phone was launched. That's pretty much the beginning of the millennial generation, or the older part. If you fast forward to the StarTAC flip phone, which was launched in 1996, that's the other end of the millennial generation. So you can see how much has changed just in the millennial generation, and then we move to Gen Z. We're also going to draw some parallels back to Gen X and even baby boomers. So let's jump into this with some statistics. So we found that many plan sponsors are surprised to learn how many Gen Zers and millennials are part of the workforce. If they are not already part of your team, they may soon be in large numbers as you recruit new employees. It's also important to note that millennials, Gen Zers face unique headwinds, including high levels of student debt, risk-averse investing styles, and others. These attributes that may hinder their ability or adequately prepare them for retirement have also an impact on your plan participation goals. So millennials have already surpassed baby boomers as the nation's largest segment of working age adults. That's according to Pew Research from 2019. Gen Z, the 83 million people born between 1990s and the 2000s, are also significant. You're going to see that here as we go through this. The oldest in the mid-20s may already be part of your workforce, and in the 15 years, Gen Z is projected to be the largest segment of the workforce. So as we go through this, we're going to take a in-depth look at millennials and Gen Zers, and not just as age cohorts, but together as a unique, important section of the population of your retirement savers in your plan. And we're going to continue the discussion. We'll focus on how to engage with the millennials and Gen Zers and become active participants and beneficiaries in your plan. So let's start looking beyond the stereotypes and kind of get a sense of who millennials and Gen Zers are. So as I mentioned before, we're going to talk about Gen Zs and millennials, but really kind of the four different generations that are currently in the workforce. I mean, if you think about that, from a baby boomer all the way to Gen Zers, think about just the differences in behavior. Think about the way that they interacted from a business standpoint from the beginning until now. There's quite a bit of differences, and that leads to the way that you can design your plan. So if we look at retirement savings benefits and how important they are to millennial and Gen Zers, every day 10,000 baby boomers are turning age 65. There's approximately 109 million millennial and Gen Zers of working age today, and in the past 20 years, defined contribution plans have mostly focused plan design on investment lineups to focus on baby boomers. That was the largest generation. With millennials and Gen Zers making up a large percentage of the workforce today, it's really a good time to take a fresh look at your plan design, communication, strategy, and try to engage these younger generations. And if we use 2019 census data, the latest we have for this presentation, we are updating that. There's 83.1 million people in the Generation Z and 66.6 million people in the millennial generation. So now we just had a quick look at, who they are and how to define millennials as an age group, but what are some of the personality, social, and investor traits of this generation? If you look at this first bullet point here, the most highly educated generation in history. If you don't believe them, ask a millennial, they'll tell you. It's pretty apparent they have higher degrees and quite a bit of education, which does come with some school debt and educational debt, which we'll talk about here in a second as well. So when you're out to dinner or even at a coffee shop, just note how many millennials you see plugged into their phones or laptops, not really making any human contact. Most millennials grew up watching their parents or grandparents suffer financially as a result of the Great Recession. And as a result, they're often risk averse when it comes to the market and investing, and often shy away from locking into agreements. You can look again at cell phones. I think this is just a great parallel. Think of the way cell phone contracts have changed. It's no longer a 2-year contract per se. It's a phone agreement to pay over 2 years, which technically is still an agreement, but it's just disguised differently. So they can be described as looking at investments with a sampling and piecemeal approach, seeking information with no strings attached and focusing on short-term needs rather than long-term retirement goals. These factors illustrate the importance of consistently educating millennials on saving as early as possible for retirement. And we're going to see some real actual dollars and how that plays out later in this presentation. And despite their education, some positive attitudes about finance, including philanthropy, and important research, millennials still struggle with saving. With access to workplace savings plans such as 401ks, savings behavior has changed dramatically, and retirement saving is one of the top priorities among millennials. 67% of employer-sponsored retirement plans, 48% put money in the savings every month, and 28% are investing in savings in the market. But debt is a financial obstacle, as I mentioned before. 76% carry some form of debt. And those include auto loans at 40%, credit card debt at 37%, mortgages at 36%, 25% student loans, 12% personal loans, and 11% medical debt. And this is all according to Bank of America in the Millennial Report of 2020. So Gen Zers. Gen Z is defined as those born between 1996 and 2012. The oldest Gen Zer is 24. So you probably have some of these folks in your workplace already. Gen Z is on track to become the most well-educated generation ever, more so than millennials, and the more ethically diverse generation than any previous generation. You can see that even with the increase in ESG focus across different asset managers. Gen Z doesn't remember a world without smartphones or social media. They grew up with it in their hand versus learning it and going through the process of upgrading into new technologies. Started saving earlier than millennials, age 19 versus 25. And more than 70% of Gen Z workers are saving for retirement between the ages of 18 and 23. They're concerned about the future of Social Security, and they put a higher emphasis on personal savings. They care about social issues and want to make a positive impact. Gen Z's preferred mode of learning is video. We can see that with all of the debate and discussion around Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. 60% of individuals age 14 to 23 look to YouTube to gather their information, which can help shape your communications programs. And I know that Gina's team has a number of webinars that they've already done on financial wellness and things of that nature. So you can go back and look at those. And I know they address some of the ways to engage and try to have a financial wellness program. An estimated 45 million American workers do not have access to a workplace savings plan. And over a dozen states have enacted state-sponsored IRA programs, and several dozen more are expected to take up in 2022. As I mentioned, this is being updated now. I'm not 100% sure if Minnesota is one of those, but I do know in my home state of Illinois, we do have a mandatory IRA savings program, which is going to help the Gen Zers and help people with their retirement, but we can get into that in a second. And there's a federal attempt, obviously, to mandate workplace savings. And it's with Secure 2.0 that did pass, there are some legislation there that is going to help with the savings gap that we're trying to close with having different retirement products available. So let's take a look at why these generations save. So a recent study from Transamerica's Center for Retirement Studies in 2021 examined trends among the different generations of savers. So they found that the millennial mindset started saving at age 25. The oldest millennial is currently age 41. 58% said their financial situation was negatively impacted by the pandemic. 77% concerned that Social Security will not be there for them when they retire. 82% are saving for retirement in a workplace plan or outside of work. 31% frequently discuss savings, investing, and retirement planning, family and close friends. And if we contrast that and compare it with Generation Z, the Gen Z mindset is that they started saving earlier than millennials at age 19, which is actually a really good thing. They're more inclined to take savings into their own hands and embrace self-directed investing. They're more interested in cryptocurrency, and we've seen that. 59% have experienced one or more negative employment impacts due to the pandemic. So whether that's reduced hours, salaries, furloughs, or layoffs. And 69% have made adjustments due to the pandemic and the financially related strain that they have. 35% paying off student debt and 33% cite savings for retirement as financial priorities. So you're starting to see some of the parallels here. And if you even look at baby boomers and Gen X, there's a lot of similarities between saving for retirement and trying to make sure that they pay down debt. It's just the debt with the Gen Xers and baby boomers might be more applicable to housing versus student debt. And we know that there's talk in Washington about eliminating that as well. So many millennials and Gen Zers, they cite college debt, as I mentioned, as an obstacle to saving. And their average student loan debt for recent college graduate is about $30,000. 44% of Gen Zers and 83% of millennial employees say that financial stress interfered with their ability to do their jobs, compared with 24% of all workers. And according to a survey of 2,000 millennials and Gen Zers conducted by digital banking platform Laurel Road, these are the top 5 saving concerns of Americans under 40. Paying monthly bills at 28%, trying not to overspend 27%, saving for a home 27%, making a monthly budget and sticking to it at 26%, putting money into a savings account at 26%. And with the median home price rising to $363,000 in 2021, millennials and Gen Zers will have more ways they have to save more money for future down payments. We've seen interest rates going up. We know that that's a huge topic, and that's going to impact people's ability to buy a home. And both generations are more open to advice compared with other generations, and frequently looking for savings tips, which is a good thing when you're trying to develop your education program or financial wellness program like Gina and her team do. Let's take a look at the financial status of these generations. And as I mentioned, these are a lot of statistics, and we're going to talk about ways to take these statistics and turn them into more of an actionable item in ways that you can look at your plan. So millennials, 82% saving for retirement in 401k plan or outside the workplace. 25-year-olds, that's the age that they started saving. 15% of annual income is in a plan participant's 401k contribution. That's actually a really good number. It's healthy. $68,000 amount saved in all household retirement accounts. 58% said financial situation negatively impacted by the pandemic. 31% discuss saving, investing, or savings in retirement with family, and 77% are concerned about Social Security won't be there when they retire. Gen Zers have some similar numbers here. So 70% are saving for retirement in a workplace plan or outside of work. They're 19 years old when they started saving on average. 15% of their income is going to the 401k contributions. $26,000 is the amount saved in all household retirement accounts. Roughly 60% had a negative impact on employment from the pandemic, and 70% made adjustments due to financial strain. So let's talk about engagement, right? I just shared all of the statistics, and this presentation will be available, I believe, on their website, like Gina had mentioned. And this presentation specifically in a PDF format, you can ask Gina and her team as well if you'd like to see these, because I know we're going through these a little quickly. So here's some ways to engage with savers. Offer health savings accounts, HSAs, Roths and 401ks, company match, potential loan payoffs, and rent stipend. We have tools that are accessible to Gina and her team to help discuss what the plan design could be, what it should be, and how it can impact cost savings. So that's something they have available as well. Participant communications, attention getting content, video and social media. Make sure that it's device optimized. Millennials and Gen Zers want to look at things on their phone or their iPad. You may be doing that right now for this presentation. I know that I'm actually using an iPad and an iPhone to actually go through this presentation. The more optimization it is for devices and not have to be tied to a physical computer on a desk is going to get more interaction. Plan design, auto enrollment. Secure 2.0 just put into legislation that auto enrollment for new plans will be mandatory starting in 2025, retroactive to 2023. That's a whole separate topic, and I think Gina and her team do have something on their website on this, but it is an important thing to consider to keep up with newer plans, and there's ways to model that out. Optimize asset allocation contributions, loan activity, online third-party wellness programs like we mentioned that Gina and her team have. Show millennials and Gen Zers the importance of staying invested. This is a pretty impactful slide. We do have individual PDFs for this as well if it helps with any communications. But in the chart, if savers stayed fully invested over a 15-year time period, they would have earned over $22,000 more than somebody who missed the market's 10 best days. This is pretty impactful because when the market goes down, the reaction of a lot of folks is to get out because of fear or panic. Typically, the best days that happen from an investing standpoint follow the worst days. So time in the market is more important than timing the market. And you can see that here, these are actual numbers. And again, this is available if you'd like it. And then, as I mentioned, some real dollar examples. So participant education should be the focus on importance of starting early, staying invested, and the power of investing consistently over time. So in these examples, investor A chooses to get into the market at an early age, but ceases to continue investing after age 32, probably because they had to pay a mortgage or other life circumstances. While their nest egg continues to grow, it is limited, and the upper end when investor A reaches retirement. And you can see that on the right side there. Investor B waited to start saving for retirement until age 32, maybe because of student loan, credit card debt, other things that we mentioned earlier that can hinder people from saving. And as a result, they have to play catch up for the remainder of their working years. At retirement, their nest egg is not nearly as large as investor A because of the cost of waiting. And then if we look at investor C, consistent saver throughout their working career, started early, continuing to stick to their plan through retirement. And at retirement, their nest egg is nearly twice the amount of those of her friends. So the importance on this slide is compounding. A colleague of mine said that the money makes money, and the money that money makes more money. It's simply compounding. And you can see that in this example here. The earlier you start and the more consistent you are, the better off you will be. And with a financial wellness program and 401k, dollar cost averaging, just steady Eddie investing can help you get to, retirement goals that you're trying to achieve, especially for the participants that need the help. So workplace saver communication, best practices here. As I mentioned, device optimization, focus on mobile environments first, strengthen your company's digital communications program, a well-rounded benefits offering because of labor shortages. Key hurdles in the Millennial and Gen Z generations are facing in savings is a lot of the debt. So if we can help tackle some of those, I know there's legislation that is looking at college debt pay down as well. Wellness programs, video training and education, and will employees have access to health savings accounts? So you can discuss the benefits of saving. For all job seekers and current employees, access to workplace savings is an important benefit to recruit, retain. So new employee recruitment, millennials care about having access to retirement plans and making it easy to save and manage. So outline the benefits of automatic features and company match if it's applicable. They're well-versed in technology. Access to tools such as websites and apps to view progress is a great way to keep them engaged. And employee retention. Millennials may not have the same loyalty to companies that their parents and grandparents had. A plan that recognizes this group and meets their unique needs is likely able to be used as a key retention tool. And then employee engagement. And ensures that an existing workforce matures, they are well prepared to retire. Millennials can be engaged employees who are ready to fill the workplace gap left by retiring baby boomers. And the benefits that speak to their needs can be used as an excellent recruitment tool and retention tool, as millennials tend to pay a great deal of attention to benefits as well as their salary. And in this time where there's a significant worker shortage across industries, companies are struggling with issues such as attrition and finding new talent. So job seekers are, of course, interested in salary, but also flexible schedule, work-life benefits, and key benefits such as retirement plans and health insurance. So consider these trends when evaluating plan offerings. Target date funds remain popular due to its simplicity. 38% of millennials are enrolled in target date funds and 401k plans, compared with 34% of Gen Zers. And the majority of Gen Z are investors in retirement accounts in 2021. Shows Roth IRAs. They primarily invested in target date funds, and many Gen Zers with access to 401k funds were automatically enrolled in target date funds, with 86% of those savers putting 100% of their accounts in target dates. So consider offering additional strategies based on goals such as growth and stability and on other investment trends. 5% of millennials are interested in ESG, I mentioned that earlier, and impact investing, and this is according to Morgan Stanley. About 1/3 of millennials often or exclusively use ESG investments, compared with 19% of Gen Z, 16% of Gen X, and 2% of baby boomers. So Gen Z may be more interested in financial wellness offerings, and only 43% of Gen Z are optimistic about reaching their retirement goals, compared with 53% of all other participants. So in summary, we looked at an important and growing segment of the workforce. I know there was a lot of statistics in there, and again, this is available after this presentation. So why they save and how to engage them. So millennials and Gen Zers have unique needs, they have concerns, and these will evolve over time as these demographics age. So you need to tailor your plan design and communication strategy to this growing segment that can support both recruiting and retention efforts. Recognizing generational differences and communicating accordingly will help engage these populations, increase participation, and help them prepare for retirement. And drawing it back to the technology example that I mentioned in the beginning, optimizing these for phones. Now that iPhones and smartphones and tablets are really in everybody's hands, that is one of the easiest ways to try and communicate with small snippets of information and videos. So I'm going to end this part of the presentation here. I'll pause for any questions. Gina, I'll turn it back to you. Again, I know there was a lot of information, so let me know if anybody has specific questions.
That was great. Super informative. And again, as Dan mentioned, if anyone has any questions, please put those in the chat or the Q&A. I do want to mention something too that may be very helpful to you. We actually at 401k Plan Professionals just recently designed a presentation for your participants, for those millennials and Gen Zers. Actually stole a lot of the data from Dan. But it's today we designed this for plan sponsors. But again, we do have, I think, a great presentation that really talks to those millennials. Make sure they that we understand their financial mindset, what their financial concerns are. And just like today, where Dan gave you some actionable items as a plan sponsor, we give those millennials and Gen Zers some actionable items as well, and some important resources. So if they are in debt or they're struggling with student loan debt or they're trying to build up an emergency savings account, we give them some actionable items, some steps to take. But again, it's just acknowledging who they are and and what they're struggling with. And then again, give them some resources and some things to do. So we do have that available. So if you're interested, reach out to me. We can do, a group presentation in person. I do a lot of those virtually. But if you think that would be of interest to you and your staff, please let me know, especially if you do have, a large demographic of Gen Zers and millennials. I think it's a great presentation. Again, I just want to mention too, we have a lot of great webinars and events coming up. We're really excited about our annual fiduciary summit that is in person at Golden Valley Country Club. You can register for that on our website. It's a half-day event. We've got some fantastic speakers coming in. Also have some great webinars in May. We've got Voice of American Worker. That's a really fascinating study that was done by Franklin Templeton, our quarterly fiduciary training. And then one of our most popular ones is in July. And this is more participant focused. And that is our Social Security 101. So again, you can find all of that information on our website, and you probably get our drips from our team to remind you to register for some of these great webinars. Let me just double check. It looks like we don't have any questions or any comments, but again, I just want to thank everyone for taking some time out of their morning. And Dan, thank you so much. This was so fascinating, very interesting, and I think very helpful.
Thanks for having me, Gina.
You bet.